It is still cold out there. Okay. How's everybody feeling? Pretty good? Good, good. Okay. Well, on our press briefing here this morning, I want to touch on a few topics. Our tornado property assistance program, we're going to talk about winter safety and the winter response, and then I'll touch on some things related to recent headlines and recent news related to some pay issues regarding our police department and other things. So to start us off, I do want to talk about the February 14th deadline for private property assistance. This program, the private property assistance programs, is designed to help residents with eligible repairs, get funds for those repairs through the city, as a last resort to demolish properties or insurance. We know that FEMA assistance isn't enough, but in order for us to move these properties that may be eligible through the pipeline, we've got to get the applications in by February 14th. This allows us to do a few things to really get a handle of the volume. And once we get that volume in, we'll be able to put out RFPs to get that work started. We have got to get these applications in order to get the work moving forward. It also allows us the opportunity to start to hold some of the absentee property owners accountable and move forcefully through the process for some of those property owners that we are unable to contact. This is important, especially because this is an area that's been held hostage by vacant property owners for far too long. So we recognize that some folks are not proactively engaging in the process, and this will allow us to start moving forcefully through some of those properties as needed. It's important that we move proactively through this. So even if you are not one of those property owners, but you're with a faith community, you're in your neighbors, your friends, your family, please encourage folks. This is an opportunity to hopefully get some funds and get some property assistance moving forward. So the application process is pretty easy. We do have it online. You can do it in person. You can do it over the phone. It does allow for a recovery team to come to your property and assess the damage. Legally, we do need your permission to get on your property, so it's critical that you do complete the application in order for us to move those projects forward. I also want to mention our new home repair program. Currently, we've been operating under our Healthy Home Repair program. We'll be piloting a new program that is going to allow us to scale much more efficiently moving forward. That is already underway, and we should see home repairs starting in March. I'm very excited about that because it will accelerate as we expand our contractor capacity. If you are hearing this message, and I hope you are, and you haven't already applied, you can apply in a couple different ways. Our private property assistance program application is online at app.stlrecovers.com. You can also go in person to our outreach center, our STL Recovers Outreach Center at 4401 Natural Bridge, or you can call our center at 833-925-0977. I will turn it over to Julian for a few more technical updates on that front. Julian?
Well, thank you all. I did want to just maybe address a few of the common things that we've heard, a lot of questions around the February 14th overall deadline. One, to just remember that the private property assistance program is eligible for all. There's been a lot of narrative that said, am I eligible if I have insurance? Am I eligible if I have a certain income? All incomes are eligible, as well as people with insurance are eligible for the program. We've also heard a lot of fears around people thinking that this may be an attempt to take property. It is not that. What we will do is we will take your application in, review the services that's been directly requested, and we'll send out certified experts to do structural inspections to check to see what can happen and what's realistic with your property. Those broader sets of decisions will be made alongside property owners as we move them through the program. This initial deadline for February 14th is only to make sure that we have that initial application in. It takes less than 10 minutes. All we're requiring is you need to have a government ID tied to your application. You need to be the owner, and then if you do have insurance, there's a need to submit your initial insurance policy information. Our goal is to just get that minimal information submitted. I know there's been also a lot of questions around why the deadline, why now, why so quick. This deadline is largely driven by FEMA-oriented deadlines that's required around the $156 million that we found out about in early January. We announced the deadline, for many of you know, in mid-January, and we are kind of pushing our timeline to make sure that we can hit the timelines required for broader state funding. But I want to just send a very clear message. Our goal is for everyone who is eligible, for everyone in their neighborhood, to get their properties fixed. This deadline is trying to make sure we can make as many of those individuals possible and eligible under the FEMA funding. We will continue to work with residents who missed the deadline. Our intention is to support all the residents where we can, and this effort is just to try to drive that urgency to make sure we can get as many applications in by the deadline. I also wanted to share a little bit more information for the public. We need help. We will be doing a lot more work to do outreach, whether that be both door knocking, getting materials out into public spaces, attending community meetings. But the biggest issue we have is we have a lot of properties where the landlords or the owners may no longer be in that property. So knocking on the door is not sufficient. Our contact information, whether it be from FEMA or whether it be from our internal databases, for a lot of those contacts are not accurate. We're getting a lot of disconnects. So if you know a neighbor, a place who has not registered, we would love for you to be able to contact us and provide us with that respective information. So the ways that people can do that is, one, we have launched a dashboard online for you to be able to see at app.stlrecovers.com. You can see on that who are the people that have applied in your neighborhood and also who are the people that aren't. What we're asking is that if you know someone whose property does not apply, you know that person, to one, encourage them to apply, or if you also have their information, to please share that information with us. They can do that by calling the call center, which is 833-925-0977. They can visit the Outreach Center on Natural Bridge at 4401 Natural Bridge, and they can flag those properties and let us know who that owner is, any context they have on the property, so we can do our best work to try to get as many people registered as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Now I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about our winter response. We have really focused our winter response on two areas. One, clearing the streets, and the second component is really in making sure our residents and those who are in the most vulnerable situations are safe during this enormously cold winter weather event. I want to stay on the forefront. I am enormously proud of the work that the city workforce has done, both from our streets department across the board, our health and human services departments, and really just the operation across city departments has been phenomenal. As we've mentioned several times now, we have stood up a winter weather command call twice a day during the most critical days and at least once a day during these enormously cold weather events. They are headed up by our emergency command, SEMA department, and really involve all city departments that touch winter weather, as well as many of our external partners, including MoDOT, Ameren, and a few other external partners here. It's been enormously effective of getting everybody on the same page and really aligning their goals and the outcomes across city departments to ensure that we're making decisions in a timely manner, that are deploying resources that are keeping our communities as safe as possible. On that front, I want to just lift up our streets crews. They have been, as we've mentioned, working 12-hour shifts around the clock. They, along with help from our parks and forestry divisions, we've added a new layer of quality control this year, deploying our neighborhood stabilization team, who have been going out in tandem with our streets department to ensure that we are actually getting the work done across and really doing some quality control management here. I know that during this storm, I have asked a lot of our streets departments and all the departments involved. Thank you. I think we can all agree that their hard work has really paid off. It's not just about convenience. We know that it's also about public safety. Our emergency first responders have got to have access, ambulances, fire trucks, et cetera. Our school buses and our school families have got to get to school, and this work has made that possible. So a massive thank you to our crews for getting our main streets and most of our residentials cleared. This year we, as you know, really piloted it into the side streets. And while we still have a lot of work to do to get them all cleared, we have been largely successful at triaging the complaints and the sort of trouble spots as we are made aware of them through not only our quality control mechanism, but through our Citizen Service Bureau. And so if you have a side street or if you're noticing any issues that are still lingering, we know there are still some trouble spots out there. Please do let us know about them. You can do that through any traditional CSB apparatus. You can also call 311, and we're taking those complaints, we're triaging them in real time. This is not the first snowstorm we've had under our new streets director, Director Jackson, who was baptized by fire in November with an unprecedented early winter snowstorm, but this has certainly been the largest and one of the larger that we've had in recent history, with almost 10 inches across the city of St. Louis. And so under his leadership, this was a big event, and I'm so proud of the work we've done. We're also now evaluating lessons as we move forward to incorporate into the operations moving forward. Director Jackson, I'll turn it over to you if you had any, did you have any other comments you wanted to make at this time, or do you just want to be available for questions?
Yes, ma'am, I'm just available.
Okay, that's great. Again, thank you. Your leadership has been tremendous, and your crews have done phenomenal work. On the shelter side of things and keeping our residents safe, while the snow is mostly clear from the roads, and we're still working on that front, the dangerously cold temperatures have not only persisted, but will continue on through the rest of this week, into this weekend, and for days ahead. So I want to talk about that because, this year we've had well over 600 beds on top of the 400 normally, over 1,000 beds available during our Code Blue Level 3 and Level 4. We have roughly doubled the capacity over last year for winter weather emergency beds. This has been enormously successful during those Code Blue Level 3 and Level 4. We have not had to turn away anyone. We are also continuing through this event to pull on more and more non-traditional shelter space to continue to expand capacity. We have also expanded our offerings by providing shuttles that are heated Bi-State shuttles. I want to shout out and thank Bi-State for being a tremendous partner through this by helping us not only with warming buses, but the buses are mobile and they're really transporting folks. To date, we have transported 500 folks to shelter. This is just an enormous benefit to our community. We also know that this has reduced the number of fires that we have seen, and it has really helped to keep not only those experiencing homelessness, but folks who are living next to vacant homes and just our built environment safer through this weather event. So I want to just continue to get the word out that we do have shelter space. If you know of someone who needs this, please call 211 to get connected. I want to thank our city employees. They've been just tremendous. We've also been pulling in so many folks. Our health department workers, Dr. Pearson, who's not with us today, has just been working around the clock, not only to align those shelters and align those resources, but even driving the bus himself. I mean, really just being so present in ways that I'm enormously proud of and has been enormously helpful to our community. As I mentioned, this has been a reduction in fires. Our fire department reported that we normally have 6 calls for fire per day during a period like this, and this year we're averaging just 1 call a day. So a huge reduction in the number of fires that we're experiencing as a result of being able to provide shelter. I can't stress enough how much this matters, especially preventing loss of life at a time, when we have so many folks who are experiencing housing instability as a result of the tornado, but we're seeing homelessness rise nationwide. This has just been an enormous effort and enormous amount of work for our community. We are continuing to serve those. I want to point out too, if you're not homeless but in a vulnerable state and you have any issues with your heat, your electricity, or your functioning heater, through our functional needs registry, we are conducting outreach. We have been. We've already made 5,000 calls to the folks that are on that functional needs registry, providing them with additional supports. This includes individuals who are frail or elderly, have medical needs, and we are working to make sure that we're meeting those needs so that folks can stay warm in the homes that they may have. If you are not on the registry and believe that you might qualify, the number is 314-657-1676. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about city workforce. We all know what an enormous job our city departments have done. Our police department has also been enormously helpful and enormously present during this massive snow event. You may have seen the videos. If you haven't yet, some of the body cam footage of our police officers in this snow event have been just truly phenomenal and certainly heartwarming. It's come to light that our police board, voted on Monday in the midst of the snowstorm to provide a contract to the police officers union for a pay raise and some additional vacation time to our officers. And I want to be very clear that our police officers, similar to most of our city workforce, are underpaid. That is a fact of the matter. We can all agree that we need to pay our city workers across the board more. This is something we've been talking about in great detail and looking at with a pay study that's been headed up by our personnel department. Competitive pay is a critical component to attracting and maintaining a high-quality workforce. But I do want to say that the police commissioner's decision on Monday was unfortunately made without a financial analysis of what this will cost the city of St. Louis. These decisions cannot be made in a vacuum, and they have to be made holistically. It's not fair to our city workforce, including our officers, to not do our due diligence in ensuring that these benefits can be paid for, not just in 1 year, but moving forward. They have to be sustainable. One of the critical pieces here that while the police commission is maybe fitting this in their budget, there are resulting and residual massive increases to pension costs, the pay parity with our fire department, and a whole host of other considerations that were completely ignored in this process and that are unfortunately putting the projected pay study raises for other city workers in grave jeopardy at this point. And so while we've had timelines on the books to get those pay raises moving here in the coming weeks, unfortunately, this is putting an enormous wrench in that body of work and will be prolonging the much-needed raises across their other city departments. With that, I think I've covered the baseline of topics that I wanted to touch on proactively, and we will take questions. We have our new, I do want to, Brian, have you been introduced to the public yet in a public? We appointed a new personnel director, Mr. Brian Light, who has long roots in St. Louis, but has been serving in various capacities on the West Coast and has been recruited back to his hometown of St. Louis to serve as our city's new personnel director. And has got in, I think you're on day 16 at this point, maybe?
That sounds right.
And is doing a phenomenal job. That department has had some challenges, and we're really grateful for your service in coming back to St. Louis and leading up one of the most critical departments that our city has to be able to attract and retain our workforce. With that, I'll turn it over to you all for questions.
What other services might be cut because of these sports reasons?
We haven't been able to take a look at that. We don't have any, like I mentioned, the financial implications there was no fiscal note associated with any of this work. So we really are in the process right now of doing our due diligence of trying to quantify what this could cost, not just from the police department's budget, but as I mentioned, there are a whole host of cascading costs associated with providing raises. The city is responsible under state law for the additional cost to pension benefits. I mentioned there's a pay parity issue with our fire department. There's a whole host of additional costs associated with this. In addition, the state of Missouri, some of our lawmakers over there are considering some bills that would add additional costs to what that looks like. I mean, again, I think we can all agree that our workforce is underpaid, and we have got to find ways to pay our workforce better. But these decisions can't be made in a vacuum. They all come out of one finite set of income that the city of St. Louis has. And as mayor, I have to balance the costs across all of our city's needs, which, as we know, are great. We've talked a lot about the unhoused here today and the enormous work that our city is doing to serve the region's unhoused. And, this is a huge burden financially for our city taxpayers, but something that the rest of the region does not have in the same magnitude. And we're happy to do it because we know that it's the right thing to do. And again, it's saving on some of those fires and other massive, major public safety concerns. However, it does come at an enormous cost.
You mentioned the pay parity for the fire department. Is there any way around that?
Right now, under our city charter, there is a pay parity issue. And look, I mean, our fire department does great work too. And one of the things that has come clear out of the pay study is that we do need to have some raises for our fire department in order to get to a bare minimum, a base level that is in line with the regional standards for pay. Something that we haven't considered really that we need to take into consideration is the very, very generous employee benefits package that our city workers across departments enjoy. And that is a helpful component in attracting and retaining talent. But it is not as effective when attracting younger workers to a workforce. Having a phenomenal pension system, for example, is not something that our young workforce is really looking for or really values the same way some of the existing employees do. Retaining talent is important as well. But I want to stress that it's important to take a holistic approach to how we're looking at compensation across the board, and these things have to be done in a balanced way. And certainly, a balanced way, and certainly with financial and the cost of things as a major piece here.
Sounds like you're pretty pleased with your administration for the street clean following the winter storm. What grade would you give your administration for cleaning those streets?
I am enormously proud and grateful to the work that our city workforce has done. So many of our streets crews have been working tirelessly. As I mentioned, I mean, just on our command call this morning, hearing so many of our folks talk about the calls that they were doing at 3, 4 this morning. I mean, it's truly around the clock. So I am exceptionally proud and grateful to the work. I'm not going to give ourselves a grade. I think that's something that the public can issue to us. And I know that some folks have already given us grades, but I think that's something for the public to determine.
What would you say to those who the streets are still not clear in their area?
I would say, look, we've got our mains and our secondaries and our hill routes done, and I believe we're right, as our director pointed out, we've done the majority of the side streets, but look, this was the first year that the city proactively did side streets. And, while we're 4 days in at this point, we know we haven't gotten them all. We don't have sensors on the road. Report back to us. Let us know where the trouble spots are. We are taking that information through our Citizen Service Bureau. Call us. Let us know. And as I mentioned, this is really the first major snow event that has been led under Director Jackson. We are going to be moving forward with some improvements. We're iteratively improving the system. I'm grateful that we were able to address this snowstorm in the way that we have been, but we are going to be building in improvements to the system for next time.
Switching back to the police pay discussion, is there concern? I know in the past, we have even discussed that other city departments are understaffed and
Yes.
underpaid. Are you concerned that this could hurt not only recruitment, but retention for the other city services?
I do have those concerns. Look, as I mentioned, we were in the process of delivering our pay study and raises for other city workers. And unfortunately, this puts that in jeopardy. And that's disheartening. again, I want to stress that, I am well aware that our police department is underpaid compared to the regional average. I think it's important, however, that we take all these things into consideration across the board. And I'm hopeful that the police board can consider this as a matter that our city has to fund. And, including clearing streets, et cetera. So we need to be able to balance this. And I'm hopeful that we can put together the financial note that's a necessary component to this and really take a look at this. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do this, but we should certainly, when we're looking at financial decisions, they have to be done with numbers. And to fail to do that and really take into consideration what this is going to cost could put all of this in jeopardy. Including, yeah.
Mary, does the city have any info about how many cold-related deaths there have been in the city this year versus
Last year. We, as part of our daily briefings, we do include our medical examiner and certainly our health department commissioner. And we are watching that on a daily basis, not only the deaths that we're seeing, that, are the potential deaths, but any instances of frostbite and other weather-related illnesses. I don't have the exact statistics of this year versus last year, but that's something we could look into, and it is something we're monitoring as we go through this on a daily basis.
Is there an acceptable number on that raise? It's
There
7%
is,
now.
on the raise or on the,
Excuse me, different topic.
Oh,
Back to the pay raise. On the
Sure.
police. It's 7% is what the board set it at. Is there a number that you see as more?
we had, I'm not going to speak on that right now. Again, what I think is critically important is that it is taken in context with all the other pieces here. And look, as part of the pay study, the city of St. Louis had budgeted $10 million for raises here this year. And, that did include consideration for our police department and fire department, who, as I mentioned, are well underpaid compared to regional averages. There's no dispute about that. However, again, these are issues that are typically negotiated with our unions and handled in a way that is holistic and looking across the board. I can't speak to what is maybe in line. What I will say, though, is that it's important that we can give all of our city workforce a raise, recognizing that, this year in particular, we have some budget constraints. I do really want to reiterate what a great job our police department has done and continues to do.
Mayor,
Yeah, Ryan?
given that the police department
Ri-
is-
I'll call him Ryan, and then I'll go back to you, Elliot.
Appreciate it.
I know.
Have you had any
Do it.
conversations with any of the other members on the police board since Monday? Any indication to maybe rethinking this, like that you're persuaded them in some way?
I have not been able to have direct conversations. I have reached out. I do understand that they've been in Jefferson City getting confirmed, so there's been some delay there. But I do look forward to continuing those conversations. Look, while I disagree with how this went down, these commissioners are serving for free. This isn't a paid position, and I believe that they're doing this work with what they believe to be the best intentions of our police department. But at the end of the day, I have to represent all city workers. And it includes, thousands of workers for the city that are not in the police department. And as I mentioned, the proposal before us is just for a segment of the police force. It doesn't include the officers, it doesn't include civilians, and so while that may fit in the budget, we have got to do this in a holistic way that really ensures that we have the funds to provide benefits, those increases across the board. Yeah, Elliot, I did.
Given that the police department is so understaffed, and given that obviously public safety is such a priority, doesn't it make sense to give the police as much as you can to try to attract new officers?
Oh, Elliot, I do think, you bring up a good point. It's like how much, I think we've got, but giving officers or any of our workforce as much as we can. That is the key here. How much can we do? And how much, how can we do this in a way that ensures that we have the funds to be able to do it? And again, my ask was just how much is this going to cost? And if the commission couldn't answer that, to me, that is a real that's a reason for pause. If we can't calculate how much this is going to cost, we shouldn't move forward. And until we can really calculate, can we do this, I'm not in favor of moving forward with something that doesn't have a financial cost associated with it.
How do you avoid these kinds of
You know, this is a great question. This is why I fought for local control. I do believe, you know, when you have a state-appointed board that doesn't have responsibility across the city of St. Louis, this is one of those challenges. I do believe that the city of St. Louis should have control of its police department. Look, I think our police department is doing a phenomenal job. Our chief is doing a phenomenal job. Our officers are doing phenomenal work. But they're part of a system, and you know, I hate to see this come at a cost of the rest of the workforce. That, you know, our police department, our departments work seamlessly together, and to create a rift like that, I think, would be really unfortunate.
You may not have
Do
a
we-
choice, is that the reality?
Look, we're going to try to work through this, Elliot. I think it's in the best interest of all of us that we find a way to work together. Are there any other pressing issues?
Mayor, one other
Yeah.
thing. Why do you think that more people haven't applied for the tornado assistance?
I can't speak to that. I mean, you know, we're doing what we can. We've knocked on doors, we've made phone calls. You know, I think right now we're seeing people across the United States throw their hands up at government. You know, the trust in government systems is at an all-time low. So much of the needed assistance is so much greater than what cities can typically do. We're in an unusual position in that we've had some RAMS interest funds that we've been able to put. And, you know, with the emergency declaration, we were able to triage and do so much work on the front end. But I think Americans are questioning what government systems can do. It was enormously stressful and traumatic for all of us in the days following the tornado to not have FEMA on the ground immediately. And people know that. People feel that. And, you know, I think there's so much residual associated with that. While we were able to clear the roads and do things that cities are typically responsible for doing, the city of St. Louis has been asked and forced to do so much more than cities can do, than cities should do. And people feel that. We are doing what we can as we are building an apparatus to serve some of the most vulnerable people in the region, in the world, or in the United States right now, I should say. I will say that the folks that experienced the tornado are some of the most vulnerable folks in the United States. After years of disinvestment, decades of disinvestment, you know, owning homes that are almost impossible to insure, you know, we are building an apparatus to serve those out of thin air. The city didn't have a process to restabilize 100-year-old homes after a tornado. We didn't have a process to fill in where insurance should have stepped up. We didn't have a process to fill in where FEMA didn't come. So we are building the machine to serve some of the nation's most vulnerable residents as we are moving through a rapidly changing national environment. And that's a tough order. And people see that we are not able to serve as quickly as we should. And it's discouraging. And I feel that pain. And we are doing everything we can to try and make sure that we're providing those resources. And I'm enormously grateful for the leadership of Julian Nix and his entire team to be building a machine as we move forward. And unfortunately, we have folks in the community who's in their best interest to knock us down every time we try to get up. And that is not helping either. You know, crushing hope is enormously hard. You know, we are providing shelter, we're doing what we can. We know it's not enough, but when we consistently have folks in the community who want to discourage folks from participating, it is discouraging for everyone. And I think it really tamps down the desire to be a part and to apply and move forward when you think the city isn't doing what it can.
Mayor,
So that's it. Go ahead.
Mr. Jackson, about how proud you are
This
of
is gonna be the last
operations.
question, we do have to pull the mayor. No, that's.
Yes, ma'am.
How proud are you of your operations this following storm?
I can't say enough about it. When the mayor asked me to come on board, she told me what the challenge was going to be. I shared with her that I was up for the challenge. Between her and the colonel, they placed a large amount of faith in me. We do not make promises that we do not keep. And I have been tremendously pleased with what I have seen from my team. At 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, it's hard to sleep when your people are up. And
Mayor, I just have
No,
a
we
simple,
need to go.
I just have a simple question.
I'll stick around and talk to you. We need to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.